Hello everybody and welcome back to Extra Holiday Games. I'm Extra Holiday and we're going back to Starbomb. The level, not the band. We were never a part of the band, so would have been neat though. Not that Aaron or Dan or Brian have ever known me, so. But you know what, I like being a part of creative things and I think we would make a pretty neat team. Maybe. I don't know. I don't actually know them in person, so. But they seem neat enough. It would be cool. That's awkward. That's a new way to die for me. It's a neat little variant on the whole explosions lasting for a while thing. Yeah. And I was demonstrating my level last time, if you recall, and I have said in the past, you may have noticed this with that level, but it's not a particularly hard level, and none of the levels I've made are particularly hard, and that's by design. But I think, should I ever end up making an entire world, which I actually hope to do, kind of similar to how Ross made an entire world. Well, 8 worlds, 50 levels, or 40 levels rather. If I get around to that, I think by the end there'll be at least some challenge to the levels. I mean, even some of the later levels I've made that I haven't uploaded yet, they're a little bit harder. So I'm hoping actually to implement an actual difficulty curve. Oh, hey, we don't know that we've made it this far yet. I think if I crouched there, I would have been fine. But also, I think I should just kill the Mecha Koopas when I can. Because they're really the only threat, aside from just the timing of things changing. Did it again. Walked into the explosion. You know how cool guys don't look at explosions? Well, cooler guys walk into the explosions and die. So that's why I was doing that. It's because I'm even cooler than those guys who walk away from explosions. It's very little known fact about me, but I am in fact very cool. Anywho, this is a level, and it's an auto-scroller. I wonder what this level would be like. No, I feel like this level would be fine if it weren't an auto-scroller, but I can understand why he would want to make some levels auto-scrollers. I'm still working on the timing for that bomb. Still working on it. But yeah, there's I'm tempted to keep talking about my own levels, but I'm kind of afraid to now because I don't want to sidetrack again and just end up making this a series on my levels, because I'm supposed to be playing Ross's levels, not explaining mine. But I mean, eventually I'll probably get around to showing off my levels. I just gotta wait, is all. So I don't really want to talk about them too much until I've made time for it, I should say. Because now is not the time. If there was ever a time, now is not it. Okay. So let's talk about the design of this level. I think it's actually pretty neat. At least as far as design goes, because specifically, I think it does a pretty good job of tutorializing what's going on. Ow. I think I'm running too far forward there. And I think I'm activating the Mecha Koopa early, which is why sometimes I have to jump to avoid the laser and sometimes I don't. But yeah, as far as design goes, I think this level's pretty neat because it's got a neat little tutorial there at the beginning where it's like, oh yeah, the sun sets off bombs and the bombs can blow up switches. Like he does that in one move right here. Like that bomb in the top left shows you pretty much theoretically everything you would need to know about this level. Like the only thing that you might have to learn after that, at least as far as the level so far goes, is that the sun's movement scrolls up and down with the screen. And even then, that's probably not an issue if you're taking the intended path. So, yeah, I think that little bit's neat. I like the beginning of this level, at least. Which is good, because I've been playing it quite a bit. Yeah, definitely ran too far forward there. But again, I could have just jumped on the Mecha Koopa and jumped back. That would have worked. Maybe I should go back to my old strat of jumping on the first Mecha Koopa and then getting on top of the blocks. Maybe that would be better. Whoop. And then we hop here. And then we take this guy all the way over here. And there we go. And then I think he should be able to set... Oh, okay. I actually wasn't expecting those to switch. And that actually messes up my plan, because I don't think the screen will scroll fast enough for me to get to the next platform. Although I could jump back, but then the Mecha Koopa's already gone. So I can't really use him to bounce. Alright, yeah, I think I should just take the intended path. Because even if what I was trying to do is possible, it seems a little difficult. Uh-oh. I did it again. I jumped into the explosion. That's no bueno. No bueno. Yep. Just dance. Crouch jump. I remember. I don't remember exactly when it was. Ow. But I do remember at some point playing New Super Mario Bros. Exclusively with crouch jumping. Like, not running at all, just crouch jumping, and I died there because I was demonstrating. But basically just doing this to get through the levels. And it worked. Like, you can do that. It's kind of funny. Now I'm kind of hoping that becomes like a speedrun category or something for a Mario game. It's just only crouch jumps. Okay. Cool. Got it. That's too early. I really have to hang out there for quite a while, don't I? Alright, it's fine. We've got this. Just crouch jump to victory. Yeah. Cool. Boom. Alright. Yeah. Uh-oh. I didn't set off the other ones. Well, this is gonna get tricky. Ow. Alright. I probably could have made that work. Like, it's not a half bad backup plan. Crouch, jump. I just really like that move, okay? Okay? Ow. What's not okay is that I keep dying. So I should stop that. Stop it, me. Stop dying. That's just the most helpful thing to hear, right? Just stop dying. God, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that in League. And it's not because I'm particularly bad. I mean, I am bad, but it's not because I'm especially bad. But it's mostly because some people just don't realize that that's not helpful at all. Or they don't care, I guess. It's essentially like, if your teammate's dying a lot in a team-based game, and you want them to stop, saying stop probably isn't gonna do anything, right? Because what the only way that changes anything is if A, they're doing it intentionally, and B, they could be swayed to stop doing it intentionally. And I feel like maybe like 0.1% of the cases where someone is feeding, as they say. I feel like maybe 0.1% of that time is when they're intentionally doing so. Like maybe 0.1%. I really don't think it's as prevalent a problem as a lot of people seem to think. So, and of course, the term inting, or short for intentionally feeding, has kind of lost its meaning. Nowadays, it just means doing bad, which kind of exactly proves my point that people seem to think intentional feeding is more common than it is. And it's unfortunate, right? Because that sort of mindset is what leads to people being like, "Oh, stop feeding." Why are you ruining my game? It's like, I'm not trying to, man. I'm not trying. And see, I feel like that's where I differ from most people is when somebody says that to me, say I'm actually doing bad, and I'm not intentionally doing bad because I don't do that. But say I'm actually doing bad, and someone's like, "Hey, stop feeding. What the heck are you doing?" And just stop. You suck. I'll be like, instead, what most people I feel would do in example, what I've seen most people do actually is they'd go, "No, you suck." They'll try to turn the blame on the person who is yelling at them, basically, right? Because they don't want to be the bad person. Nobody wants to be the bad person, So, and everyone in the game is more than likely making some mistakes. So, it's pretty easy for someone who's being yelled at to look at the other person's play and be like, "Actually, you're the bad one." But the point I'm trying to get at is, one person says, "Hey, you're bad." The other person says, "No, you're bad." And that's usually how it goes. What I try to do, and I feel like this is pretty effective, is when someone says, "Hey, you're bad" to me because I am doing bad, I do one of three things, basically. Probably the most common thing I do is I just mute them. I'm like, "All right, I don't need to hear this from you." And I don't need to hear this from you. I know I'm doing bad. So this is probably the only thing you're going to say to me for the rest of the game. So I don't need to listen to you. Because I already know. And then the next step, or the next option, is I try to explain like, "Hey, sorry I'm doing bad." And sometimes I'll even do this preemptively. It's like, "Hey, sorry I'm doing bad. I'll try to do better." Like, and you could see that as, the wimpy thing to do. Like, "Oh man, you're just gonna cave in to their aggression." And it's like, well, kinda, because like, again, what does fighting back really do for me? Like, it's just gonna piss them off more. It's gonna piss me off more, and nothing is actually going to get accomplished. Like, nobody's actually gonna be convinced that they're the one in the wrong. So more often than not, in those situations, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sorry, I'll try to do better." And then usually they'll shut up after that, because that is typically enough to prove to them that I'm not doing it on purpose, and I'm not trying to ruin their game. But the third option is probably the rarest one, and maybe that's why I ordered it last. It's to explain what my thought process that I had when I was talking about muting people, where I try to explain to them, like, "You know what? I know I'm doing bad. You don't need to tell me I'm doing bad, so stop." Like, you don't need to be an asshole for me to get it, you know? I get it. And then that will also usually stop them. Although I don't typically phrase it that way, because if you do phrase it in a antagonistic way like that, then you're more likely to get like, no, I'm not an asshole, you're an asshole. And it's not productive. So yeah, those are some ways to deal with people being toxic on team-based games. And just the internet in general. You could probably apply that to more places on the internet. Just any time that you're not intentionally opposing someone, basically, you can just be like, you can either just walk away from the conversation, which is my favorite solution. You can try to say, yes, you're right, I'll try to do better. Or you can say, hey, I know I'm wrong, you're being a jerk. Yeah, I know I'm wrong, but you're being a jerk. That's kind of similar to the second option, but you know, it works slightly differently. Like if you're trying to teach them that they're being a jerk, I guess that might be the better option. But again, you have to phrase it in a way that's not directly antagonistic, otherwise you're not gonna get through to them. So yeah, those are Holiday's lessons on how to deal with internet toxicity. Again, I feel like the first one is just the most productive. Because a lot of the times people just need to vent, you know? And so letting them scream at the wall can be helpful. And if you're not listening, then yeah, there's really no harm done. The only problem with this plan is you have to wait for them to show that they're, well, I guess you don't necessarily have to, but if you're being cautious about it, you have to wait for them to show that they're the type of person to take those sorts of things personally. You know, I kind of wish I could spin jump on this sun. I feel like that might make this level easier. And I feel like you might have been able to do that in the original Super Mario World. I'm dead. Nope. Okay, now I'm dead. Because I hesitated, because I thought I was dead. But now I'm dead. Except I'm alive again, because, you know, respawning. I kind of like... I don't know if I've ever talked about anime on the show before. I guess I kind of have. I've mentioned Digibridged. But, so, you know, being that is made from the Digimon anime, you might assume that I've seen some anime. And I can't say that I've seen a lot, but the idea of respawning reminded me of ReZero. And if you haven't seen the show, I'm going to spoil the first episode a little bit. It's a show about this guy who gets transported to another world, but his only like special power that he gets is the ability to respawn. And you might think, oh, hey, that's really cool. That means, you know, you could die over and over and just learn from your mistakes. And to an extent, that's what happens in the show. But one thing that the show is sure to make clear is that it is not a nice power to have. Because dying kinda sucks. Like, even if you're coming back, it kinda sucks. Like, it hurts a lot of the time. Like, more than anything could hurt, essentially. And the show takes great pains, no pun intended, to show that. So that's kind of what I think of whenever I think of things respawning. It's just like, okay, yeah, you're back alive, but like, how much did it hurt to die? And of course, that's only one way to think of respawning. Like, you could also think of respawning as jumping to another timeline, which actually might be what Subaru, the main character of ReZero, is doing, maybe. But you could think of it as jumping to another time, or jumping back into another timeline. And in that case, yeah, that's maybe a little better. Like, specifically, the idea is if you're not conscious of the fact that you've died, then it's maybe better, maybe. Like, it comes to that argument then of like, is it okay for bad things to happen if nobody remembers it? And specifically the example of, you know, having multiple timelines where sometimes bad things happen, is it okay that those timelines exist where bad things happen, or do you need to make all timelines good? And can you make all timelines good? I don't know. I goofed up right there. Some interesting theoretical discussions to be had about the whole respawning power. Frankly, I don't know that I would want it. Of all the superpowers a person could have, respawning might not be the one I want. Because, I mean, theoretically that means you're immortal, but also it could be just incredibly painful. I mean, you could get to a point where if you've ever seen someone play a game on an emulator where they have save states and then they save state themselves. Actually, this happens sometimes in regular games too. But like, if you were to like save state yourself in a bad spot in an emulated game, then you kind of just have to restart the entire game. But if your quote unquote save state here is the power to respawn, and you don't really have control over when your respawn points are, then you kind of end up at a point where eventually you'll probably get to a point where you just keep dying and there's nothing you can do to prevent yourself dying. Okay, too early. And that would suck, because then you just keep dying over and over and over again without getting anything accomplished. And that would probably be the worst form of immortality. It's just, you're just in constant pain and constantly feeling like crap, and you just keep dying like that. That would suck. Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's a little, ooh, you know. All right. Let's give this another shot. One more shot. This is the shot. We're gonna do it this time. We're just gonna do it this time. This time we will succeed. Okay, never mind. When we're gonna succeed is next time. 'Cause, as for this episode, that's a wrap. My outro sound canned? I think it sounds canned.